About 2 weeks ago, Acustica Audio released a new plugin that emulates mastering and high-end audiophile converters. Let's get into it. So the plugin's name is Daisy. And I'll be honest, I've been thinking about this one a lot lately and just how do I talk about this plugin to the viewers of Real Home Recording? And for those that don't know, I am an Acustica Audio virtual street team member. It means I'm like an ambassador for them. I was an ambassador before I was an ambassador. I really like Acustica Audio's plugins, period. They're to me, like, if not the best, they're in the top 3 plugin companies. With that out of the way, what is Daisy all about? What exactly will it do for your masters and for your mixes for that matter? Well, first of all, I want to say this one is not a must buy. A lot of times when I talk about Acustica plugins, I do say, I think it's a must buy if you check it out and it works for your music. This one, best way to describe it is if your mix or your master is already sounding good, but it still needs that extra spice. So let's say it's a steak. It's like a steak, right? Here's an analogy for you. A great tasting steak. But you know, so it tastes a little bit better or the flavor's enhanced, you throw another spice on there. Not too much spice, just a little bit. And it makes it just that much better. This is what I would describe Daisy as. Because here's the thing, do you need Daisy? No. Is it nice to have, and will I be using it on my own mixes and masters? Yes. And why did I say mixes when this is being marketed as a mastering plugin? The reason is because this plugin is so subtle, it reminds me of back when Slate Digital released VCC, the Virtual Console Collection, and it added that just little bit of extra subtleness that, again, you don't 100% need, but it does help. And because it's so subtle, it's a cumulative effect, and I'm going to show it off right now. Acustica figured out how to take the converter out of their hardware samplings with hyper technology. So it was only a matter of time before they sampled the audio converters themselves. 14 pieces of hardware in total. Perhaps the idea of manipulating audio with a converter is a foreign concept to many, but it does have some merit. What you have to understand is not all converters are built equally. In fact, some of them are built to enhance audio. In a way, Daisy reminds me of tape plugins that have a 30 inches per second tape speed option. What Daisy provides is subtle enhancement that many won't find worth the price of admission. But for the music producer, mixing, or mastering engineer that already has everything, this is something pretty unique. You can slap it on at the end of your plugin chain, but I personally recommend mixing or mastering with it on from the start. So I'm going to play some samples now. Put on some headphones that reveal detailed mid-range like the Sony MDR 7506. Crank up the volume a little bit and listen. At the top of Daisy, we have the presets bar. I'm not sure what the official name is. I forgot to write that one down. But basically, this allows you to go through the factory presets. And if you made your own presets, they'll be here. You can also click the left and right arrows to go through them. There's 3 different categories by default. Next up is size. We can resize the plugin. Now, if you choose the 1x, 1.5, or 2x options, they'll be clear as day, but any of the in-between options are a little bit blurry. You may also resize Daisy by dragging the lower right corner. The next 2 settings are the ADC and DAC models. Just like with the presets, you can go through these with the arrows or click them and a drop-down menu appears. The on switch below the ADC and DAC models turns that section of the plugin on or off. It's on if it's mostly black. Next up, we have the input, which is not an input trim unlike a lot of Acustica audio plugins. It is an actual input gain setting. The output gain, same thing. It's not a trim, it's an output gain, so it controls the signal after the ceiling limiter. The lock button, which is located in between the input and output knobs, preserves your gain settings so that when you flip through the factory presets, they don't change. The plus 18 button calibrates your input level 18 decibels higher than the default, while also setting the output level to negative 18 decibels to compensate. Be careful right now though, because there's a bug in Daisy that creates a little bit of a loudness spike when you click it, also when you change the oversampling setting. The drive control only affects the analog to digital converter model. It increases saturation, which in turn increases harmonics and perceived loudness without much signal level change. The De-Correlate setting only affects the DAC model, and this control enhances the stereo sound stage. Just be careful about going too far with this setting because you could run into some monocompatibility issues and the center might collapse on you. So again, be careful with it. The drift button, according to the user manual, enhances musicality by adding subtle analog imperfections. For me, this sounds similar to the Alive mode that's available on other Acustica audio plugins. Essentially what it does is it helps make sterile digital recordings sound objectively better, or more quote-unquote organic. Ceiling is peak management in cases where Daisy is the final plugin. The different settings are arranged in order of CPU processing and quality. My favorite setting is True Peak HD. Then on the right side of the plugin, we have the meter and waveform visualizer. Kind of self-explanatory, but basically the gain reduction, or GR, will show you if you went higher than the clipping stage for the plugin. And the meters show, I believe, RMS, maybe LUFS. Either way, it's there if you need it. The waveform section is probably the coolest part, in my opinion. Next up, we have the Dither section, featuring TPDF, which stands for Triangular Probability Density Function. If you don't know what that means, shame on you. No, just kidding. Basically, it's the simplest form of Dither. It's boring. It actually sounds analog-like because it's essentially static noise. Use this if you're anticipating further processing after Daisy. The psychoacoustic setting is a highly conservative option. So again, if you're going to be processing after Daisy, it's a good choice, along with Psychoacoustic 2, which is somewhat similar to the first one, but less conservative. And Tropic, according to the user manual, employs rather aggressive noise shaping curves. In other words, it's good if Daisy is your final plugin, or if you want to use Daisy as your dithering plugin with the ADC and DAC stuff disabled. Smoother resembles a more restrained version of a renowned dithering product. introducing slightly more noise in the 8 to 15 kilohertz range. I have no idea what Acustica are referring to when they say that, but hey, it might be one of the better ones. Probably another final dither option. And Smoother 2, the final choice, adopts a steeper design with a similar concept, closely resembling a well-known dithering algorithm celebrated for enhancing resolution while maintaining a smooth, natural sound and avoiding extreme high-frequency peaks. You know, now that I read that description, I'm wondering if it's iZotope Mbit Plus. I don't know for sure, but it's possible. Then again, it might be one of the Air Windows ones. Could be, could be. Anyway, the last two important settings, listening modes. We have Delta, or the difference mode, which shows us the difference between the plugin when it's enabled and the plugin when it's bypassed. Left-right is our default setting, aka LR. And then we have mid and side, which mid shows us just the mono audio that's being affected, and the sides allow us to listen to anything but the mono signal. Another cool thing about Daisy is Acustica have finally put settings under the settings menu. Look at that. They're pretty much self-explanatory, although I don't think they're really mentioned in the Daisy user manual. But just take a look at these, and yeah, you have some options now, which is pretty neat. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button right now.